For a long time, Earth had been alone. At least that's what people thought. Then everything changed in the year 2467. The galaxy finally opened its arms to Earth. The Intergalactic Council, an alliance of hundreds of alien civilizations, invited Earth to join. Humans were no longer just watchers of stars. They were now part of something bigger. At first, people celebrated. The skies were filled with color. Alien ambassadors arrived in glowing ships. Gifts were exchanged, and humans saw amazing things. Creatures that shimmered like mist, machines that floated with no energy, languages made of music. But after the joy faded, something strange began to happen. More and more alien ships appeared in Earth's orbit. Most were not large. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't ask permission. They just arrived, silent and hidden in the upper skies, above satellites and cloud layers. Some ships were scanning oceans. Others were hovering near cities. A few were even sending small probes into forests and deserts. Nobody on Earth had given them permission. Captain Ilara Monroe, head of the Earth Planetary Defense Diplomacy Unit, was one of the first to notice the pattern. She was smart, calm, and known for her peaceful approach. But even she felt uneasy when reports came in from every corner of the planet. "Our sky is full," said one technician, "but not with clouds, with eyes." Ilara stood in the control room of Earth Station Sentinel, a giant ring-shaped platform, floating just beyond the atmosphere. Her team worked non-stop, watching blips appear on their screens, each blip a ship not registered, not announced. "They're not attacking," said her assistant Nolan, "but they're watching everything." "Like a zoo," Ilara whispered. Some governments were nervous, others were angry, but the Intergalactic Council remained silent. When Earth's leaders asked why these ships were there, the Council only gave a polite message. Curiosity, observation, no harm is meant. But Ilara wasn't so sure. Back on Earth, strange things were being reported. A scientist in Kenya found her entire lab scanned by a beam of unknown energy. A farmer in Brazil watched a glowing orb float over his field, lifting a cow into the air and setting it down gently. A school in Japan had to cancel classes when a strange mist hovered above their building for an hour. No one was hurt, but people were scared. "We joined the galaxy," said the president of Earth, "but did we also lose our right to privacy?" Ilara was sent on a mission. She would travel aboard the diplomatic cruiser Vigilant Horizon, one of Earth's newest ships designed for peaceful travel and talks. Her goal was simple: go up, observe the situation, and deliver a message from Earth's governments. As Vigilant Horizon rose above Earth, Ilara looked out the wide window at the stars. She remembered being a child, dreaming of aliens. Now she was about to meet them, but not as a guest, as a protector. When the ship reached orbit, the truth became clear. There were ships everywhere, hundreds, maybe more. Some looked like metal flowers, others like long, glowing ribbons. One looked like a floating cube of water. None responded to greetings. They just sat in silence. Ilara activated the open channel. "To all vessels in Earth orbit, this is Captain Ilara Monroe of Earth's Planetary Defense Diplomacy Unit. You are currently above a sovereign planet. We request an explanation and a meeting." No reply. She waited 1 hour, 2 hours, still silence. Finally, one ship moved. It was shaped like a spiral shell and shimmered like a bubble. It sent a signal, but not a voice. It sent a recording. Humans dancing, children playing, buildings growing. They weren't talking to Ilara. They were studying humanity, like watching a show. Back on Earth, protests started. People wanted action. Some asked for shields to be raised. Some wanted the ships forced down. But Ilara advised patience. "We will not fight," she told the world leaders, "but we will not be quiet either." She returned to Earth for a special meeting at the United Human Council. Leaders from every continent sat together, some old, some young, many worried. Ilara spoke clearly. "They are not harming us," she said, "but they are not respecting us either." "What do you propose?" one asked. Ilara stood tall. We tell them the sky is ours, not for weapons, not for war, but for peace. And peace must include consent. We declare Earth a no-fly zone, not in anger, but in dignity. The vote was held. The result was clear. Every nation agreed. Earth would make its stand, not with guns, but with words. And so, for the first time in human history, the planet spoke as one. A single signal was sent across the stars. This is Earth. We welcome peace, knowledge, and friendship. But we are not a display, not a test. From this day forward, Earth is a no-fly zone. Entry requires permission. Violators will be redirected peacefully. We are not a zoo. We are a people. In the skies above, the ships remained quiet. But for the first time, one by one, they began to move. Slowly, carefully, they drifted away from the Earth. The stars were listening. The message from Earth echoed across the stars like thunder in silence. Some alien species heard it with surprise, others with confusion. A few laughed, calling it childish. But one thing was clear. Humans had drawn a line, and they meant it. The days after Earth's declaration, most of the alien ships quietly moved away. Not because they were afraid, but because they had never seen such unity from a young species. Earth was still new in the Galactic family. Most expected humans to obey, to remain quiet, to simply be grateful. But humanity had spoken, and their words held strength. Captain Ilara Monroe, back aboard the Vigilant Horizon, watched the skies slowly clear. She had not expected such a fast response, yet she knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. She called a meeting with her team. Scientists, engineers, and cultural experts gathered in the main conference room of the ship. On a large, holographic map, dozens of alien signatures still remained, on the far side of the moon, hidden in asteroid belts and deep beneath Earth's oceans. "These are Watchers," said Dr. Lena Voss, Earth's lead xenoculturalist. "They are not here to invade, but they are studying us, like how we study wildlife. Carefully, quietly, and they believe they're doing nothing wrong," Ilara added, "because it's how things have always been." "But that's the problem," said Nolan, her assistant. "Just because something has always been done doesn't make it right." Ilara nodded slowly. "It's time we make it clear that Earth is not open for silent observation. We want friendship, not experiments." Earth's leaders supported her vision. They had already seen the people's reaction: pride, hope, and unity. The skies had become a symbol of something more. Earth wasn't just protecting its airspace, it was protecting its dignity. So, Ilara and her team began designing something never seen before. A defense system not for war but for peace. It was called Project Ethernet, a gentle energy web placed around Earth's orbit. It would not attack, damage, or destroy. Instead, it would detect uninvited ships and guide them safely away, like a soft hand redirecting a curious child. The engineers worked day and night. Satellites were upgraded. Beacons were launched. Within weeks, a quiet blue field shimmered, invisibly around the planet. No ship could enter without being seen, and none could stay without being asked. News of the Ethernet spread fast. Some alien news channels mocked it, calling it a human bubble of pride. Others watched with growing interest. On a diplomatic channel in the Zuron Belt, a respected alien scholar even praised the idea. The humans are not trying to control the galaxy. They are trying to control themselves. That is the first sign of wisdom. Ilara smiled when she heard that. Perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy was starting to understand. But not everyone agreed. A small group of alien scholars and traders believed Earth's stand was arrogant. To them, Earth was still a new player, a child demanding silence in a room full of adults. One alien ship, Cereval Drift, refused to leave orbit. Its captain, a reptilian being named Jator, sent a calm message to Ilara. "We mean no harm. We only wish to observe and learn. Your planet is fascinating. You should be honored." Ilara replied just as calm. Learning without permission is not education, it's intrusion. Jator did not respond. A few hours later, Cereval Drift tried to lower its orbit, attempting to move closer to Earth's southern hemisphere. As soon as it touched the outer edge of the Ethernet, the energy gently pushed it back. No weapons, no explosions, just a silent resistance. Jator sent one more message. You've made your point. Then he left. Earth cheered. Not because it had forced a ship away, but because it had defended its choice, peacefully with honor. Across the galaxy, leaders and thinkers began discussing Earth in new ways. Some were annoyed, some curious, but many were now paying attention. Ilara knew this was their chance. With support from the United Human Council, she proposed something new, a Clear Skies Accord, a treaty that would apply not just to Earth, but to any world that wished to declare its skies sovereign. The idea was simple. Every planet has the right to accept or reject visitors. All observation must be with permission. Peace does not mean silence, it means respect. To Ilara's surprise, 3 young alien planets immediately joined. They had also suffered from uninvited guests, ships treating them like ancient ruins, or science experiments. The Council hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Earth was still new, still small, but now it had allies, and its voice was growing louder. Back on Earth, people felt something they hadn't felt in years. Pride. But not the kind that leads to war, the kind that grows from being heard. Children in schools started learning about the Ethernet. Artists painted clear blue skies and stars. Farmers, teachers, and workers looked up and saw peace, not just from above, but among themselves. Ilara stood once more in the command deck of Vigilant Horizon, looking out at the quiet stars. Did we do the right thing? Nolan asked beside her. She smiled gently. We didn't raise walls. We drew a line, and there's a difference. The alien ships that once filled the skies had moved away. Some went back to their home systems. Others stayed farther out in the solar system, waiting and watching, but from a distance. None crossed the Ethernet again. To many people on Earth, this silence felt peaceful. To others, it felt strange. For so long, humans had dreamed of meeting aliens. They had hoped for friendships, new cultures, and open sharing. But now that the aliens had come, the dream felt different. Not scary, but heavy. Still, Earth stood. United. Captain Ilara Monroe remained aboard the diplomatic cruiser Vigilant Horizon, now stationed at the edge of the Ethernet. She spent her days monitoring the system and speaking with other planets. The Clear Skies Accord, which she helped design, had gained attention. 5 more young worlds had joined. Even a few older civilizations had shown interest. It was a quiet revolution. One afternoon, Ilara sat in the observation chamber. The large window showed the glowing curve of Earth below and the endless black space above. Nolan, her assistant, entered with a small smile. Another planet just signed the accord, he said. That makes 9. Ilara nodded. More will come. Not because they want to fight the Council, but because they want to feel safe. Like us. She looked at the stars again. We used to beg to be noticed, she said softly. Now we ask to be respected. Nolan sat beside her. It's working. Even if the Council hasn't said it out loud. That was true. The Intergalactic Council, a group of ancient, powerful species, had not commented much since Earth's declaration. They had not stopped the Ethernet. They had not blocked the Clear Skies Accord. But they also had not endorsed it. They were watching, and in their silence many worlds were making their own choices. Then, without warning, a signal reached Vigilant Horizon. It came from an alien ship named Laristel's Light, waiting near one of Saturn's moons. The signal was calm and respectful. Captain Monroe, one of our scholars requests a private meeting with you. No threats, no study, just conversation. Ilara studied the message carefully. It was unusual. Most ships now kept their distance. This one wanted to talk. She replied, "Meeting granted. Send your shuttle to Docking Bay 3. Alone, unarmed." 1 hour later, a sleek silver shuttle approached the cruiser. It slowed gently, guided by the docking arms. When the bay opened, a single figure stepped out. He was tall, with smooth green-blue skin and 4 narrow eyes. He wore simple robes, no weapons, no machines, just a calm expression and a strange device on his chest that helped him speak in Earth language. "I am Draven of the Hextari," he said. "I thank you for this welcome." Ilara met him at the entrance. "You are respected as long as you respect our space." Draven bowed. "I do." They walked through the ship slowly. Draven looked around with interest but did not touch anything. Finally, they arrived in a peaceful chamber with soft lights and chairs made for many body types. Ilara gestured for him to sit. "Why have you come?" Draven spoke gently. "For centuries, we have watched new species join the stars. Most follow the same path: curiosity, obedience, dependence. But humans, you are different." "We want peace," Ilara replied. "But not silence." "And you've made that clear." Draven nodded. "I am not here to change your mind. I am here to understand it." Ilara leaned back. "Then ask." Draven tilted his head. "Your people have always dreamed of the stars. You watched the sky for hundreds of years. When we arrived, why turn us away?" Ilara thought for a moment. Then she said, "Because watching is not the same as sharing. You came in silence. You studied us without asking. You hovered over our homes, read our signals, scanned our lands. That is not friendship, that is control." Draven nodded slowly. "And you built a net, a gentle wall?" "Yes," Ilara said. "Not to trap, but to protect." Draven looked out, the window toward Earth. "You know, many older species laughed when you made your declaration. They thought humans were being dramatic. But now, many are quiet." Ilara smiled softly. "Sometimes silence means someone is thinking." Draven looked back at her. "I want to share this conversation with others. Your words, your views. May I record?" "You already are," Ilara said. "But yes, with permission." Draven bowed. Again. "Thank you." The meeting ended with no treaty signed, no secrets exchanged. But something important had happened. A new kind of respect had been born, not forced, not demanded, simply offered. When Draven left the ship, he sent one last message to the stars. The humans did not shout, they whispered, but their whisper changed the winds. His recording, later called "Earth, the World That Dared to Say No," became one of the most watched broadcasts in the galaxy. It was shown in schools, shared in marketplaces, and discussed in council halls. It spoke not of war but of dignity, not of anger but of calm strength, and the stars listened. The message from Draven of the Hextari was still traveling through the galaxy, opening minds and starting quiet conversations. Many alien species began to see Earth in a new light, not as a small world begging to be noticed, but as a voice asking to be respected. But not everyone agreed. Some still believed that humans were too emotional, too proud, too new to be giving lessons to the stars. Among them was a young and famous alien named Dravnix, a knowledge seeker from the Aurican Syndicate, a species known for collecting data on rising civilizations. Dravnix had read the Clear Skies Accord. He had watched the broadcast from Draven, and he did not like it. "They are closing their doors," he said to his crew. "And yet they joined a galaxy built on curiosity. This is not the way." One evening, without informing the council or the human diplomatic teams, Dravnix ordered his small private vessel to approach Earth's orbit. The ship was fast, sleek, and had the ability to turn invisible to many standard scans. He believed he could slip through the ether net unnoticed. Just for a few minutes, he told himself, just to see if they really mean what they say. As the ship entered the outer atmosphere, it slowed. The blue energy of the Ethernet shimmered, faintly in the darkness. It looked soft, peaceful, but it carried a powerful signal, one that touched the controls of Dravnix's ship and issued a clear warning. Unidentified vessel. You are entering a protected zone. Please stop and identify yourself or return. Dravnix smiled. He continued forward. Then something strange happened. His ship didn't crash. It wasn't damaged. No weapons fired. But the controls stopped responding. The engines cooled. A soft pulse of energy surrounded the ship, gently locking it in place, like a hand catching a falling leaf. Dravnix tapped buttons. System, respond. The ship spoke in calm tones. Your path has been adjusted. You are being redirected. A few minutes later, his ship was pulled gently toward a docking point. Not on Earth, but on Vigilant Horizon, the orbiting cruiser led by Captain Alara Monroe. Alara stood on the landing bay, already aware of the situation. She had seen the readings. She had known someone would test the net eventually, but she didn't expect him to be this bold. When Dravnix stepped out, he looked confident, almost amused. He bowed lightly. Captain Monroe, I hope I have not caused serious offense. You crossed a boundary clearly marked, Alara replied. You broke a rule agreed upon by our planet. You ignored our voice. I was curious, he said. No harm meant. Alara didn't raise her voice. She didn't show anger. She simply walked beside him as they moved toward the main chamber. Inside, they sat across from each other. You believe we overreact? Alara said. Dravnix nodded. Yes, the galaxy has always learned by observing. We watch, we collect. It is how we grow. And do you ask the ones you watch? She asked. He hesitated. Not always. Many worlds do not even notice. But we did, she said firmly. And we asked you to stop. Dravnix leaned forward. What if your planet has something important to teach us? What if your people hold knowledge that could help others? We are not refusing to share, she said. We are asking to be part of the conversation. There was silence for a moment. Then Alara stood and walked toward the window that looked out at Earth. The blue planet glowed gently below. We know what it feels like to be ignored, she continued. Even among our own kind, for years, some voices were silenced. We've learned that real peace doesn't come from power. It comes from listening. Dravnix followed her gaze. And what if others refuse to listen to you? Alara smiled slightly. Then we keep speaking. Not shouting, not fighting, but standing. He was quiet. When Dravnix returned to his ship, he didn't try to break the net again. He allowed himself to be guided out gently, just as he had been brought in. As his ship flew away from Earth, he looked back with new eyes. Later, he wrote his own report. He did not agree with everything, but his words were honest. The humans are not trying to hide. They are trying to grow, not behind walls, but with roots in their own soil. They will share their light, but only when you stop trying to take. His report was not as popular as Draven's, but it reached the Council, and for the first time the Intergalactic Council spoke. In a quiet public statement, they said, "We recognize Earth's right to self-boundaries. We encourage all members to respect their declaration of protected skies." It was not loud, not dramatic, but it was enough. On Earth, the news spread quickly. People celebrated, not with fireworks or parades, but with calm joy. Schools held small lessons about respect. Children drew pictures of the Ethernet. A new mural appeared in New Delhi, showing Earth floating peacefully inside a circle of light. Captain Alara stood once again in the observation room of Vigilant Horizon. Nolan joined her, handing her a report. Council acknowledged the no-fly zone, he said. Officially. Alara nodded. Then they've begun to listen. The stars above were quiet, but they were no longer ignoring Earth. They were learning to respect it. Months had passed since Earth declared its skies a no-fly zone. At first, the galaxy was surprised, then amused. But now, the galaxy was listening. The human-created Ethernet, once doubted, had become a symbol of peaceful resistance. Its soft energy grid did not destroy or harm. It guided, protected, and reminded visitors of Earth's choice. What made it different wasn't its power, but its purpose. It told a story. Earth was no longer a quiet observer of the stars. It was a home that asked to be respected. Inside the orbiting ship Vigilant Horizon, Captain Alara Monroe continued her work. Every week, more planets joined the Clear Skies Accord, the treaty she had helped design. It was growing faster than anyone had expected. Nolan, her assistant, walked into the main chamber holding a report. "Alara," he said with a smile. "6 more worlds have signed the accord. Some of them older than us." Alara looked up from the map she was studying. "Even older worlds?" Nolan nodded. "They say they never thought they were allowed to speak up. Your stand gave them courage." Alara felt a quiet warmth in her chest. Not pride, but peace. She remembered what Earth used to be, a planet always trying to prove itself. But now, Earth was not shouting or demanding attention. It had simply said, "This is who we are. Please listen." And now, others were finally hearing that voice. In a distant part of the galaxy on a council moon known as Tarnexus, alien leaders gathered for a new meeting. This wasn't a full council assembly, but it was the largest diplomatic session since Earth's declaration. Representatives from 37 species were present. They weren't there to punish Earth. They were there to discuss the meaning of what humans had done. A tall, golden-skinned ambassador named Ceylon of the Vurex spoke first. "We must understand something. The humans did not threaten us. They didn't build weapons. They simply asked for space." Another leader, with blue crystal skin, added, "Many of us have forgotten what respect feels like. We've studied so many younger worlds, we forgot to ask if they wanted to be studied." Others nodded. Then a message was played. It was Draven's recording, the one where he spoke of Earth with calm admiration. His voice echoed through the chamber. The humans did not shout. They whispered, but their whisper changed the winds. The room was silent for several seconds after the message ended. Then quietly a decision was made. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign voice within the Intergalactic Council. It was not just a member, it was now a model for respectful communication. Back on Vigilant Horizon, Alara received the official message. She stared at the screen, her hand resting over her heart. Nolan read the last part aloud. Earth's no-fly. Declaration has been accepted as valid and lawful. All council members are asked to honor it. "This is history," Nolan whispered. Alara nodded. "And we wrote it, without firing a single shot." She stood from her chair and walked to the large window where Earth glowed below like a soft blue jewel. The Ethernet shimmered gently above the clouds. At that moment, another message arrived, this time from a group of students on the planet Javari 4, a world that had joined the Accord. They had drawn a picture. It showed Earth in the center of the stars, surrounded by smaller worlds, each connected by gentle lines of light. The message below it read, "Thank you for reminding us that peace begins with a boundary." Alara smiled. Meanwhile, back on Earth, life moved forward, freer and more hopeful than ever. Children learned about space law alongside math and science. Artists painted scenes of harmony. Musicians created songs about the silence in the sky, now filled not with fear but with respect. In Brazil, a farmer named Tiago looked up and said to his daughter, "The stars used to look far. Now they feel like neighbors." Across the oceans, in Kenya, a scientist finally returned to her lab once disturbed by alien scans. Now, it was protected. Her team worked freely, knowing they were no longer being secretly watched. Even in the streets of New York, Paris, Tokyo, and Cairo, giant screens showed images from Vigilant Horizon, where Earth's diplomats continued peaceful talks with alien visitors, now by invitation only. Then something new happened. A small alien vessel, marked with peaceful symbols, approached the edge of the Ethernet. It didn't try to enter. Instead, it sent a request. "Permission to visit. We seek knowledge. We offer friendship." Alara saw the request. She called a meeting. Her team gathered, and after hours of discussion, the answer was agreed. Permission granted. 1 ship. 2 visitors, peace only, observation with consent. The vessel entered gently. No alarms, no force, no fear. The 2 visitors, a pair of scientists from the gentle race called the Therial, were welcomed aboard Vigilant Horizon. They asked questions. They shared their own history. They listened. And for the first time, true exchange began. Later, a new message was written. It came not from Alara, not from the Council, but from Earth's children. They sent it into space on a glowing satellite filled with peaceful data and human music. The message said, "We are humans. We live on a blue world called Earth. We welcome friendship. We ask for respect. And we promise to listen too." That satellite passed dozens of planets, and every time it did, a light blinked on its surface, showing that someone had heard. The sky above Earth was clear. No alien ships hovered in secret. No strange probes drifted through the clouds. For the first time in centuries, Earth's skies truly belonged to its people. And yet, Earth was not closed to the stars. Ships still came, but they came by invitation. They sent peaceful requests, waited for approval, and visited under the rules of the Clear Skies Accord. The difference was simple but powerful. Now, Earth had a choice, and that made all the difference. Captain Alara Monroe stood in the garden of the United Human Council headquarters. She had returned to Earth after years of service aboard Vigilant Horizon. The garden was filled with green trees, small fountains, and sunlight filtering through tall glass panels. Children on a school trip walked past, pointing at her with quiet excitement. "That's her," one whispered. "That's the captain who told the stars no." Ilara smiled gently and gave a small wave. She had never planned to become a symbol. She had only wanted to protect her planet's peace. But now her name was written in history books, not for fighting a war, but for standing firm with calm strength. She walked slowly toward a memorial stone in the center of the garden. On the stone were carved the first words Earth sent in its no-fly message. "We are not a display. We are a people." Next to the stone, new words had been added. These came from the children of Earth, written after learning about the Clear Skies Accord. "Respect is the language we all understand." Ilara touched the words with her hand and closed her eyes. She thought of all the moments that had brought Earth here. Draven's message, Dravnix's mistake, the Council's recognition, and the many planets that had followed Earth's lead. They had not changed the galaxy overnight, but they had planted a seed. In space, the Clear Skies Accord had grown beyond Earth's expectations. Over 50 planets were now part of the treaty. Some were peaceful farming worlds, others were advanced technological societies. A few were small, barely known, but now they were heard. These worlds had declared their own skies sacred, their own atmospheres protected, not to block out connection, but to welcome it with consent. And the galaxy changed. Even the Intergalactic Council had created a new law. Observations of developing worlds must be approved by that world's leadership. It was a small step. But for many it was the first real sign that change was possible, even in an ancient system. On Earth, people lived with a new kind of peace. Farmers planted their fields without fear of strange ships above. Scientists researched freely, knowing their ideas were protected. Artists, musicians, and writers created works that celebrated freedom, dignity, and the stars. A new generation was growing, one that didn't fear the unknown, but didn't surrender to it either. In classrooms, students were taught not only about alien species and galactic trade, but also about the value of saying no with wisdom. They learned about setting healthy boundaries, about speaking kindly but clearly, and about the strength of unity. One evening, Ilara was invited to speak at the Galactic Peace Assembly, a gathering of leaders and citizens from many worlds. The Ike event was held aboard a massive neutral station floating between systems. As she stood before the crowd, her voice was calm but steady. "We are honored to be part of this galaxy," she said. "We are proud to learn, to share, and to connect. But true connection begins with respect. When we drew our line, we did not close the door. We opened a new one. She paused. One built on trust. The audience, made up of beings from dozens of species, remained silent for a moment. Then applause began, soft, respectful, and real. Back on Earth, Vigilant Horizon now served as a training vessel for new peace officers. The Ethernet remained active, but now it was upgraded to not just protect, but to welcome visitors under clear conditions. Every ship that entered Earth's space received a simple message. Welcome to Earth. Thank you for respecting our home. You are now part of a shared journey. One day a new message arrived. It was not from a known species. The signal came from deep space, farther than any known world. Its language was strange, but understandable with translation. The message said, "We have heard of the planet that stood quietly and was still heard. We would like to learn your way." It was signed by a civilization that had just discovered faster than light travel, a civilization taking its first steps into the galaxy. Alara, now head of the Global Peace Council, smiled when she saw the message. She remembered being that new voice, unsure, hopeful, and surrounded by giants. And now, Earth would help guide. Others, not with pride, but with kindness and strength. As the stars slowly turned above the blue planet, a quiet truth settled across the galaxy. Humans had not claimed the stars. They had claimed their voice. And that voice, calm, firm, and full of dignity, was now part of the universe forever.